Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Now, what was I talking about? My oh my gosh. I can't talk. My name is V Noir, and this week I had a really massive headache. And I wanted to record this way sooner, as always, and didn't. I'm like, damn, am I allergic to having this out at the time that I specified? No, I'm not. Um, I will say this week, I'm talking about Harold and Maude because the lead actor in that, Bud Cort, passed away last week on the 11th. And so I did have a hard time revisiting this movie, watching it again, and wanting to talk about it because of, like grief and everything and just being sad that he's gone and how much this movie meant to me and stuff. So I will say I was sad. I do have an excuse, but I'm also like I feel like I'm not I feel like I'm not popular enough that no one's gonna clock the fact that I am not posting these when I say I am, at least on YouTube, because my YouTube archive says that these come out 11 a.m. Fridays Pacific Standard Time, and I'm recording this at 2 p.m. Friday Pacific Standard Time. But either way, I'm probably just gonna take that down. No, 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 no. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better and actually upload this at 11 on Fridays. I keep trying to figure out. I think it's because I like keep. It's like I keep not being sure what I want to watch and what I want to talk about, and then I finally get to a decision about like Wednesday, and then I don't watch the thing until like Thursday night. And then I'm like, okay, let's go record. And then I'm like, oh, but no, I'm tired. And then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'll just wake up early because I always do to feed my babies, my cats. And then after doing that, I will record the episode, upload it, or edit it really quickly, and then upload it. That's in my head, and I'm, and I should know that that is not the truth because I do wake up, feed them, and then I go back to sleep, and then I wake up, you know, late morning because I'm more of like a or late morning afternoon person. Like my brain is alive at like noon. Like I have distinctly when I would work at like 10, I I could feel my brain be like, "Oh my god, I'm awake." When it hits noon. Like my brain is like, "I'm here, but I'm awake at noon." Um and it just feels different. I That's how my brain works. I'm like kind of groggy. I'm alert, of course, like, but I guess I feel more brain foggy. And then when it hits noon, it's like that brain fog clears, and I'm like, wow, okay, it's time to do the things. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like, did any of that make sense? That's only some of the inner workings of my mind. I remember even like trying to go to sleep last night. It felt like I was, it felt like my brain was picking up radio interference or something because it was like these two men talking, but it was like I was asleep, maybe. It was weird, but it was just like as if I was trying to dream or have thoughts or something, and then all of a sudden I was just hearing these two guys bantering with each other about something, and I was just like, y'all need to shut up. Literally, I told them to shut up, and then it quieted down, and then I actually legitimately fell asleep. Didn't have like a dream or anything, but not that I'm a lucid dreamer. I can be to an extent, but I definitely like I'll be in a dream and it'll be maybe horrific or something. Maybe it's like high stakes or something, as an example. I remember there was one dream where I was like a part of a heist or something and I was being chased. And at some point in the dream, I was just like, actually, that's enough. I'm going to stop running. And then I wake up, like, so I could like will myself into waking up because I'm like, actually, this is enough. I'm done here and I'm over it actually. Or God, I remember there was this one other dream where and like some of my dreams I feel more like I'm the observer rather than like participating because I remember this other one where what was happening? I was like watching this like family or something and like a helicopter fell and it like chopped off the hands of like a child or something and I was like actually that's enough and then I woke up you know or like I remember this other one which felt more like an alternative universe and like a movie it felt very cinematic again it was like I was a part of a battalion or something. It was kind of cyberpunky. And I guess we were at war or something. And then I was also like a lesbian or something like that. Like I had like a lover who was at war with me. And then I think we were fighting. And then I definitely was like, that was a lot of drama. I'm gonna wake up now because that was too much. That was too much for me. Um or like maybe I'll be awake enough to be like, this is my dream, so why are we doing this? Let's go somewhere else. And then the like whole genre just changes. Like, like I feel like there's an isekai that's like that where they get isekai'd and then if they get to a certain level of skill, they can change the genre of the novel that they're in now or something. God, I read so many isekais. I'm like, that could have been anything. And then there's so many like oh my god, I wasn't talking in front of the mic. No, now I am. But there's like so many web comics that I read that are isekais, and then I forget about literally that term being Japanese specifically, and then reading Japanese manga that are isekais, and I'm like, they don't hit the same for me for some reason. Like the writing, like I feel like I was reading one where it's called My Bias is Obsessed with Me, and I was like, oh, this is cute, this is silly, but it felt very like they're relying on tropes a lot for some reason, and I was just like, this is funny, but I'm getting annoyed and I'm gonna stop reading this. And that one's on Webtoons, and I'm like, oh, I should have clocked that this was not necessarily like a web comic from Korea and a little different because the drawing style is so different. And I mean, if it's a comedy, that's one thing, but I was just like, oh, I wanted something different, and that was what this was, and now I'm not I'm not being drawn in. I even like found it on a site to read past what was available on Webtoons, and I still was just like, I want to be engaged, but this is not grabbing me. And then I forget that like people of all ages and all skill levels can be on Webtoons. So I'm just like, oh, okay, this maybe the writing just isn't there for me as well. So I'm like, okay, we're not going to read this anymore. And yeah, that was a pretty long tangent about that. Oh my God. Okay. Speaking of tangents, before I get into the movie, um, I spent the last 2 days, I guess, watching the F.D Signifier, Tyler Perry doc on YouTube. People were talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, oh shit, I have to watch this because, man, do I not really fuck with Tyler Perry like that. Like, he's cool and everything. For, creating his own production company, making all these movies. that predominantly star Black people that aren't as well known and creating all these television shows and stuff, being someone that comes from like making plays and things, you know. So I'm like, that's cool, but he tells the same kind of story over and over and over again. And it's always this like Black trauma sort of thing. And then the fact that he's like allergic to other people's opinions. Like, I really was like side eyeing him when it came out that he fired these people off of his writer's room. And I was like, what do you mean you don't have a writer's room? No wonder you're kind of just recreating the same story over and over and over again. Like, you don't have othering opinions around you to tell you, like, oh, what if we create, not even to tell you that, but like the fact that, you know, prior to allegations and even prior to FD Signifier's video, it was just like the fact that he's gotten to this like elevated level where, you know, he has his own studio, he does all these productions, right? But he's not trying to elevate other people and not trying to mentor and like bring up other people. I was just like, I don't really fuck with that. Like, that's weird behavior to me. And, you know, FD Signifier's like doc definitely gets into it. It is 4 hours long. Which is why I broke it up. I was definitely like playing it while like I needed to clean up something, so I was like playing it while doing that, which was a bit of a task. I may play it again because I'm not done cleaning. But it was just interesting because I was just like, yeah, like, what do you mean you're at this level and you keep saying in these award shows like this should inspire other people, and it's like you can inspire people by also helping people, not like in a monetary sense. Like, you don't have to like just do philanthropy and like give away your money, but like you could be not just doing the tours, but doing like talks on how to direct people, how to direct non-actors, how to write for film, for TV, for this stage. Like, he has so many skill sets that he's not willing to share to other people, which is so bizarre to me, you know? And I get his whole like, well, I worked hard for this. Why should I help any other people? I mean, I don't get that. But I understand that that is how he kind of sees himself. Like, he doesn't, it's not even in him to think, oh, I should also help somebody else, which is so, it's such a bizarre thing. Cause I'm like, if I ever get to a point where I am such at this like higher level and I'm self-made, quote unquote. Um I'm like, you're not really self-made. Like, people are putting their money into you because they believe in your vision and what you are going to accomplish. You know, it's like, unless you get really rich investors who back you, I mean, obviously you might be selling a part of yourself or at least your clout. Because like, I mean, FD Signifier definitely made a big point of like a lot of these billionaire Black celebrities are usually backed by like these big brands, because those big brands want access to Black people, and they believe in the clout that these artists and actors and stuff have behind them. um but yeah, no, I'm like, if I ever got to his level, I don't want to be him, but if I ever was like, oh yeah, I have my own studio and all this stuff, I would definitely be like, um, you know, I'd be renting out the space. Like, these are things, if I had Tyler Perry's money and time or whatever, these are the things that I would be doing. I would be renting out the space at much discounted levels to up and coming like teens and people in college who are black, who are in Atlanta because that's where he's based, um, who are into filmmaking. Like I'd be renting it out. I'd be teaching classes. I'd be doing toxic colleges. I would I don't know, like I'd be there would be like a level of mentorship going on where I take on like someone who I see has the potential to be like a big name. And I'm just like, oh, the fact that he hasn't been doing that, it's just kind of sad to me. Because I'm like, yeah, you're at the top, but you're all alone up there. Like, shouldn't we be trying to uplift each other? Like Issa Rae said, I'm rooting for everybody black, Like, we are in such a deficit of black voices in media and television and movies. Because I'm like, yeah, we all grew up his generation, my generation, because I'm a millennial. I'm not an elder millennial, but millennial. Like, I grew up with seeing so many like black people on television, and now it feels like it's less and less. And I can't even think of like a current show that's like a sitcom type thing of like a black family. And I don't mean like and I mean just like black, like not mixed race because that's kind of what was it? Blackish is about, like just black people doing regular things, on TV. And so it's like people have to go and find these like reruns of shows that um didn't end like have a proper ending. Like when I fucking saw the Moesha ending. I was like, what the fuck do you mean this is the end of Moesha? The fuck? And I feel like that kind of happened because of the UPN WB merger. And again, that is the thing. Oh my god. And speaking of, I'm gonna touch on this lightly and then I'm gonna get into the movie. Um but talking like FD Signifier's doc about Tyler Perry definitely made me realize that like, oh, we truly had something in using church not only as the church as not only a place to worship, but a place to organize and protest because, yes, that is something that people went to church for. And not just those things, because, yeah, that was like one of the only places that people could go and not be bothered, which is why a lot of meetings happened at churches to organize. But also, people could gain like singing skills, just music skills in general, playing instruments and things like that. And a lot of that is gone now. And I do believe it's because our government doesn't want people to organize against it. And I believe that's also why we don't have third spaces anymore. Like our third space now is online. And this is why our government keeps wanting to have control and more information on what people do online. That's why Discord rolled out the ID thing because they're trying to see what people are doing on these profiles. They're trying to, see if people are organizing. I mean, that's why Signal is a thing. I'm like, it's not foolproof per se, but it is at least encrypted. So I'm like, please don't be organizing things on Discord. It is not private. You know, allegedly, I'm just like, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying things that you don't have to take to heart. But yeah, I'm just like, yeah, that really fucking sucks. Like, there's a lack of after school programs. There's a lack of just like third spaces for young people to hang out. Like the malls are dying. There aren't those recreational spaces that you can go to that aren't just at your school, but just like there for you to, meet with your friends, hang out, play basketball, game, do homework and stuff. That isn't just your house. And a lot of people do need that. And I'm like, it really fucking sucks. And I'm like, wow, our government is just so scared of everyone coming together and I don't know, kicking ass, I guess. Like that's why they're making everybody so exhausted and tied up with try to make ends meet. But anyway, I'm like, damn, I had a lot to yap about that wasn't this movie, I guess. Um oh, I was gonna say, so before I start, this is at least related to it. I thought, because I'm taking this directing class, I thought I was gonna maybe pay homage to Harold and Maude, and for our final, we have to take. We had three options. We either create a script, take a script that someone in the screenwriting class wrote and make that into something, or as a third option, we take something that already exists and take 6 minutes of it and do our own recreation of it. And so I was thinking that I would maybe take 6 minutes of Harold and Maude and do like I would pay homage to it or something. But when I when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, um, like there's very poignant parts, and I could maybe do I could kind of string it together and create a montage. But thankfully, I have the foresight to be like, okay, so that's how many locations? Where are they? How many days am I trying to do this for? Uh, like all this stuff because I wanted to also sort of recreate the Harold and Maude, um, the montage that I would create with black actors instead of the white actors that were used, just because this is one of those films, and there's just like films in general where I just want to see black people being like regular in like these poignant um scenes. So like I mean there is that kind of joke of like the white version of this black classic thing or the black version of a white movie, like that is a thing that does happen. And not that I'm saying I want to do a black version of Harold and Maude. I just wanted to pay homage to some of it because the movie means a lot to me and I watched it during a period of time where I truly didn't have the will to live, and hearing Maud you know tell Harold like Live, live, or else you won't have anything to talk about in the locker room, and just her being this very eccentric older woman who is so full of life and takes this very young person on like a journey of like living in the moment and stuff like that meant a lot to me, and I was really like, what am I doing? And I watched this like years ago before um I think I was just graduating from college maybe. So it was like 2016. Like, oh, that was 10 years ago. That's crazy. The passage of time. But yeah, I just stuff like that, like things that are heartfelt, things that are universal messages, because it's really annoying seeing a non-black creator come online and they're like trying to read something with black protagonists and they're just like, I just don't see myself in this. And it's like, we're all the same. And the fact that I spent a long time growing up reading and watching things with white protagonists and, kind of being forced to put myself in their shoes. It's just like, how do you not have this same level of empathy, sympathy, of just being able to like see yourself. Maybe you don't share the same struggles, maybe you don't fully understand, but you understand that this is a person that is hurting and is going through it. Like how can you not have that ability? Like that's just so wild to me. Yeah, so let's get into the synopsis. Death obsessed teenager. He's actually not a teenager, he's like 20, I think. I mean, I guess technically, whatever. He's not that young, you guys. Harold forms an unfriendly friendship with eccentric 79-year-old Maude. As the relationship grows and deepens into something more, Maude teaches Harold the true joy of living. And so we have this movie. It's a cult classic. It's from 1971. It was directed by Hal Ashton, I think. Hal Hal Ashby. It was directed by Hal Ashby. It stars Bud Cort, like I said, and Ruth Gordon, who I love her. Definitely watch Be Kind Rewind's video on her and just like to learn more about her un to learn more about her unlikely journey into acting and to learn more about her. She's really cool. Another movie that she's in that is really good is Rosemary's Baby. She's such a busybody in that. But love her down. But yeah, this movie, it's so good. It's such a dark comedy as well. It starts out very, very quiet. Like you don't really see Harold until later on. Again, should say spoilers for this movie. I mean, it came out in 1971. It is very old, but still, I'm like, if the synopsis sold you and you just want to find it and watch it, definitely watch it. It is really good. It is on Kanopy if you have a library card. Love Kanopy down. I think it's on Pluto TV for free with ads. Otherwise, you have to rent it. I have it on VHS, which oh my God. I was trying to find it on streaming and I literally have it on VHS and I have a DVD VCR. And I completely forgot. Oh my God, that's so funny. I literally could have just watched it sooner than I realized. I'm so funny. But it would not have been in high definition. So that's but either way, yeah, so it starts off really quiet. We just see Harold. I mean, I'm telling you it's Harold. If you haven't seen it, you're just going to be like, what are these legs? Why are we watching this person walk back and forth? He puts on a record. Cat Stevens does like all the music, all the lyrical music for this movie. um, which, yeah, those songs are so catchy. I think his name is Cat Stevens. Sorry, I got so distracted trying to remember if I said the name properly, Cat Stevens, which I was correct. That I ran into some Reddit posts about this like couple who were like greatly disappointed in this movie and then I was down the rabbit hole. I pause recordings now to either like sneeze or like try to clear my throat or something so I don't have to edit it. It makes editing a lot faster. But that also means like if I'm pausing to read something, I maybe pause for much longer than I intended. Um but yeah, I'm like this is a dark comedy. It is definitely about a suicidal person and that's what I was about to say with the entrance. I'm like if the very beginning of the movie doesn't like grab you or my description of the movie doesn't grab you, then like don't watch it. And like you don't have to watch things just because other people say it's good. Not everything that people like is something you will like, which is why I try to watch stuff that I think I'm going to like or enjoy. Like I want to watch all kinds of stuff, but Sometimes I'm just like, this plot just really sounds like ass, or this. I'm okay with bad acting. I'm totally fine with bad acting. If the concept is there and the execution just isn't exactly there, then I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, they did their best for what they had at the time. Like, that is what indie filmmaking is. I mean, not all indie filmmaking, but I'm like, amateur filmmaking. That's what amateur filmmaking is. Like, indie filmmaking just means you don't have big studio backings and, it's low budget. But low budget could also be like $1 million versus 20 or 50 or $40 million, like like there's low budget in like the millions, the beginning millions, and then there's low budget in like the $5,000, $10,000. Anyway, so we started off this movie very slow, very meditative. Like, he's, gathering stuff. He's walking back and forth. He's putting on the music. They do the whole diegetic thing where when he puts the record on, the music in the movie is also playing as the soundtrack, which always love. That's always fun. And this is when we hear Cat Stevens singing, or we hear the beginning of the song. And he looks, he seems to be hesitating about something. We're again just kind of following his feet. We do see his face for a little bit when he's lighting the candles, and we see him step, up, and then we see him step off, and his feet are dangling. It's like, oh, he just hung himself. And then we pull back and we see a woman in her, it's his mom, and she looks up at him. She gets on the phone, she dials, she dials, she looks up at him again. She's on the phone. Harold starts making like gargling sounds and stuff and tries to act like he tries to, struggle and everything. I'm saying act, but he struggles. And then she gets off the phone, tells him to stop doing what he's doing, and that they're going to have a dinner later and to be down by a certain time. And then he smiles at her, and we cut to the next scene where they're at the dinner and he's barely eating, and she's like entertaining all these older guests and stuff. And this is when we realize that, like, oh, that was fake. He's someone that fakes suicides, essentially. And his mother was unfazed by seeing her child hanging. And so he's at this dinner, he eats, he gets dismissed. We see her later, and she is going to the bathroom. She turns on the lights, and there's just blood everywhere, all over the walls. He's bloody in the tub. He's got blood on his arm, blood on his neck, just bloody, bloody, bloody. And this is the only time we see her sort of have this breakdown and say that she just can't take any of this anymore. She can't do any of what, she can't deal with what he's doing, essentially. And it's just like, God, what kind of dynamic do y'all have where, because I was realizing while watching this movie, because I was trying to clock um, when they actually have a conversation, like Harold and his mom, when it's actually a back and forth and not just her talking at him. And the whole movie, it's just her talking at him and making decisions for him. And he is someone who obviously, like, he obviously has wealth. Like, there is a lot of money. Like, this is a big house. They have cars, they have servants and everything like that. They have wealth. This also takes place in the Bay Area. It's filmed in like San Mateo. So, like, if you wanted to see some of these, like, if you're from the Bay and you want to see some of something like the Sutra baths, like, I've been to that place so many times. but it's in this movie and it's less graffitied and like more open because there's parts of it that you can't even access anymore because of the erosion and everything. So it's not as safe. But obviously, you can you can do whatever you want. No, 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 no. Don't do whatever you want. Actually, uh, um, yeah. If you wanted to see like really cool, really classic things that exist around the Bay, this movie has a lot of them. It takes place around the Bay, like they shot it around the Bay, which is really cool. And, but yeah, I was just like, she never actually asks, like, has a conversation with Harold. She never asks him how he's doing, why he's doing these things. She sends him to therapy. The therapist isn't helpful. She sends him to his uncle, who's in the military, because she's like, oh, maybe you need sort of a masculine male figure in your life to like help you. That doesn't help. And then she also sets up these like internet dates, which is so funny because it's like, yes, it's the internet, but it's also like not. And she had to fill out, technically, he had to fill out this questionnaire, and she's filling it out in front of him. And at some point, she's answering the questions as if she was giving the answers, you know? And I was like, oh my God, what are you trying to get a wife? Because why are you answering for him? You know, like there's just so many different levels to this. This is another reason why I'm like, no, he's not a teenager because she's trying to marry him off and he's not going to school. He spends his pastime, like one of his favorite pastimes is going to funerals. And so that's what it kind of switches up to after he's talking to the therapist. He is at this funeral and then he just keeps showing up. And then this is also how he meets Maud for the first time because she also shows up. And I'm gonna kind of get into a spoiler for the very, very end of the movie because this might be sad, but it's from the very beginning that Maud says to Harold while they're at this funeral, I heard he was 80. That's a good year to die. I'm going to be 80 next week. She says this a few times in the very beginning of the movie. You know, so it's like you can really truly infer that oh, she is probably going to kill herself or something, you know, because she's turning 80 and she wants to like end it all. It's also there's so much subtext of her having lived this like um very um not necessarily eccentric, but she has been someone who has been a protester for life for all kinds of causes and things like that. Um we see later on in the movie that she has like this number tattoo on her arm, which suggests that she's a Holocaust survivor as well. This takes place in the this takes place in 1971. She is 79, so she would have been in her late 40s or you know early 50s during the Holocaust. Um and then you know escaped to America. She got a husband. She talks about so much stuff actually that you can infer about her life and where she's been. She had a husband, we can only assume has passed. And now again because she says in the very beginning 80 is a good year to die cuz 85 you're just waiting. 75 you're still too young. 80 is like a sweet spot for her. And she's had this long, hard life. And, you know, she's satisfied with it. And she's ready to go. So this is like, this movie kind of takes place over maybe the last week of her life. And she shares it with Harold. And Harold, not paying attention because he's so I was gonna say full of himself, but no, it's like he's so into not wanting to be alive that he's not. And not only is it just not wanting to be alive, but also struggling to survive in that sort of survival skill of just like, okay, well, it's just another day. We're going to make it. We're going to do it. That he isn't able to take in the information that other people around him are telling him, So he might have heard her, but he wasn't comprehending what she was saying, and she's so, like joyful and just like so out there and eccentric, colorful, vibrant, so opposite of him who, like goes to a junkyard and fixes up a hearse. And then his mom doesn't like that and gets him a Jaguar and throws away his car. And I'm like, you're making these decisions without actually talking to him. What is it going on? I hate this. I hate this so much. And then he then retrofits the Jaguar to look like a hearse. And it's so funny when this happens because his second date shows up and she's like a secretary or something. I forgot what she is. So the first date, he's like outside, they're inside, and he sets himself on fire, but then he shows up right away as that happens. And the date runs off screaming because she's, afraid. I don't think the mom liked her anyway. But then the second date, yeah, was this one where he sits down with her and he cuts off his arm in front of her. The mom, used to his antics, doesn't care. She leaves. The third date though, I was like, oh, I feel like she was matching his freak. I mean, no, she was matching his freak, but I think it was just too much. Um, she was really into him, and she was an actress. She's an actor, and and he what was it? A hanakimi knife? Yeah. So no, it's called a harakiri knife. Very different from whatever I was saying. That he takes out and he stabs himself with it, but it's obvious that he's not like he didn't actually stab himself because the blood doesn't trail all over him. And then he like falls to the ground, and then this actress is just like, "Oh wow, that was amazing." Because her name was like Sunshine or something, but she took it from her acting coach in his troupe, and she goes into like the Juliet monologue from the end of Romeo and Juliet, and and then she also stabs herself with a knife, and then touches Harold with like her fake bloody hand. And it's one of those knives where when you push it, the knife goes into the sheath. Very safe. And it's just so funny because it gets all bloody and everything. And then Harold ends up being with the knife and then standing up with the knife. And then the mom shows up with the drinks with the butler or whatever. And she's like, Harold. And then she drops the drink. And then Harold drops the knife. And I'm like, no, but she was matching your freak. But I think the last time I watched this as well, I was realizing that like this is also yeah, like it's like almost like a Romeo and Juliet sort of story as well, because it's like this sort of tragic love story because he does fall in love with her. We do have a scene where they end up sleeping together. It's a we don't have the setup. It's just the next morning and they're in bed with each other, and he's blowing bubbles. And what was it? What was the Oh, but like going back into what I was saying in the beginning, it's like this is the last week of her life. Romeo and Juliet takes place over a week. They do fall in love with each other. One of them dies tragically. The other one doesn't, though. So that's why it differs. Not that there was opposition. Like, obviously, the mom was like, the fuck do you mean you're going to marry this older woman? And then there's this pastor who is very against it. And then the therapist is also like, I mean, yeah, Freud said, men want to sleep with their mothers, but didn't imagine his grandmother. It's got like comedic scenes like that. Um, God, but the priest going into like their bodies touching, I was just like, okay, you're doing too much. It's almost like you fantasize about this. Like that is too descriptive for you, buddy. You need to shut up. But God, yeah. So like she goes on this journey with him, and in some ways, I'm like, okay, so she knows she's gonna end her life. I think I was questioning on whether or not the love that Maud had for Harold was not that it wasn't like I wasn't questioning if it was genuine. I was questioning if she was just seeing it as an opportunity to have this sort of love affair as like a final hurrah before she ends her life ultimately. And I mean, I feel like that's kind of sad to think about or think of it as like because she is this such an eccentric person. She has all these keys and that work for any car essentially. So she just gets in a car and drives off. She doesn't drive well. They see this tree and I'm like kind of going all over the place with the plot, but because I'm like none of this happens and this is not the order that these things happen. But she sees this tree while they're kind of joyriding, and she's like, "It's dying. We need to get it to the forest." And Harold's like, "But this is public property," and she's like, "Yeah, and I'm the public." So, and these cops show up because they're like, "This car, what the fuck?" And she just points out on a different car and they're like she's just like, "Oh, is that car parked properly?" And they're like, "Yes, ma'am." And then she gets in the car and then she drives off and doesn't pay attention to the stop sign. Hella funny. And then like the next scene is them with the tree in a trunk of this like truck. It's like an old school truck. Because it just looks like a car without like a roof essentially. Anyway, there she's driving real fast as always, and then they get pulled over by the police. This cop on a motorcycle, and she's just like, he asks for her license and stuff, and she's just like, "Oh, I don't believe in those." And I was like, "Hell yeah, you don't believe in IDs?" And she's also just like, "Well, fuck you, a cop." And just speeds off on him before he can even figure out what's going on, and he can't give her a ticket. They plant the tree in a forest, and they come back. The cop goes after them again. He tells them to pull over, and he's trying to write up all these tickets of just like resisting arrest, stolen car, stolen tree, because she's like, "Oh, I just picked up this truck." He was just like, "What the fuck?" And then she's like, "Is this gonna take that long?" Because her and Harold are made to leave the truck, and so she's just like, "Oh, is this gonna take that long?" And then she gets on the cop's motorcycle while he's in that truck, and they take the shovel because that was a Glaucus's, I think that's his name, who's this like artist that lives nearby. Maud, and they drive off and the cop's like, "Don't do that or I'll shoot." And I'm like, "Really? You're gonna shoot people?" Cops, man. And then they are able to just drive away, and then when he does shoot, it's empty. So she really said fuck the police. She really said that. But in the before this like section where there's like a high speed chase in this. Maud is like she took a car during a funeral, and it actually ended up being like this the pastor's car. And then the next funeral, she takes Harold's car, And Harold points out that, like, I mean, I think what you're doing might be hurting people. And she's just like, she feels as though she, what she does keeps people on their toes because it's like here today, gone tomorrow. You just never know what's going to happen. So don't get attached to too many things. And then she goes into saying how, in with that in mind, she loves collecting. And then we see her like sort of small home that has all these things and artwork and stuff because she also does, she's an artist. And she also, I'm trying to remember. Oh, she says this one line about like how, I'm going to see if I can find the quote. But she says this one line about how people love to live in a cage, and then as she's saying that, they like pan out, and you see how much her stuff feels like a cage, essentially. I found the quote, and I'm probably gonna read some other quotes from this movie as well because I love it so much. I'm gonna definitely read the full LIVE quote. Um, I think after I say this one. But so she says, you know, at one time I used to break into pet shops to liberate the canaries, but I decided that was an idea way before its time. Zoos are full, prisons are overflowing. Oh my, how the world still dearly loves a cage. And then it, you know, as she says that last line, it's panned back and you see how small her space is and how crammed it is, and it's just like, yeah, that is a cage of her own making, honestly, because she doesn't travel anymore. She also talks about how you know, she's getting older, so she's not as sturdy as she used to be. So yeah, again I think it's like, um she is someone that decided to end her life before she essentially felt like she was gonna just be sitting around waiting to die, you know? Now I'm like curious because Bud Cort passed away at 77, and I think Ruth, she was 88 actually. Look at that. Oh, she's so pretty. But oh, I'm gonna read the full LIVE quote. Okay. A lot of people enjoy being dead, but they are not dead really. They're just backing away from life. Reach out, take a chance, get hurt even, but play as well as you can. Go, team, go. Give me an L, give me an I, give me a V, give me E. LIVE. Live. Otherwise, you got nothing to talk about in the locker room. And I was like, ugh. I was just, I don't know. When I saw that for the first time, I really was just like, because right before she goes into this, Harold talks about how he just hasn't lived because she's talking about all the things she's done with her life. And, you know, he's kind of sad about it. And this is also like, he also goes into talking about how he's died a few times and everything to sort of talk about his you know, fake suicides and stuff. And he talks about the first time he died, and it was when he was at boarding school, and he was like playing in the chemistry lab, and then there was a fire and everything, and then he kind of just like left and went home, and his bedroom has like a separate stair entrance, so he just snuck up to bed and fell asleep. And then he wakes up later, and there's the police there, and they tell his mom how Harold died in a fire, and she takes one arm out and puts one on like the cop, and then she gently faints. And then from there he was just like, I guess it's just better to not be alive, you know? And I was just like, this kind of just goes to show how much his mom is all about like show and keeping up appearances. And I'm like, I definitely feel like I see that a lot um in white society, in polite society, of just keeping up appearances, nothing is wrong ever, and you don't talk about the issues that your family is facing. You got to keep up the appearances. Like, never mind if you're in debt, but you got to make sure that you look like you have money still, right? It's like, that's not how you should live. Not at all. And then Maud goes into what I just said about the LIVE. Really love that. Gosh, there's just so many good quotes that are inspiring from this movie. I was just trying to pick and choose some. I feel like I can find like my favorite favorites, but because I want to direct quote her or the movie, I should say. Um, but there is this one scene where they are having a picnic and Harold's just like, I want to do like a somersault or a cartwheel or whatever, and Maud's just like, go ahead, and she says to him, and I quote, Harold, everyone has a right to make an ass out of themselves. You just can't let the world judge you too much. And I was just like, oh, so inspiring. And you're right. And then he goes and does that was my reaction to what she's saying. And then he just goes and does the cartwheels and then he's just like, do you want to join me? And she's just like, no, actually I feel like screaming. And then she starts screaming. And I'm like, ugh, I love her. I love her. And then there's like a different part of the movie where she's just like, okay, so what do you like to do outside of going to funerals? And then it transitions to this other scene where they're like watching things get destroyed in a junkyard and she's like, I definitely see the appeal. And then it transitions to what she enjoys and then she goes on to say, I like to watch things grow. They grow and bloom and fade and die and change into something else. All life. And then it transitions to them sitting in a field and she talks about how she wants to be a sunflower and I'm just quoting this movie. But I'm like, it's so good. And so I'm gonna go back and forth. It's Maud and Harold talking. So she says, I should like to change into a sunflower most of all. They're so tall and simple. What flower would you like to be? I don't know. One of these maybe. And he's pointing to like these daisies. And she says, why do you say that? Because they're all alike. Oh, but they're not. Look. See? Some are smaller, some are fatter, some grow to the left, some to the right. Some even have blossom petals. All kinds of observable differences you see. You see, Harold, I feel that much of the world's sorrow comes from people who are this, yet allow themselves to be treated as that. Um, so she's pointing at the daisy and then she points to a field and then it transitions to gravestones. I'm like, oh god, this fucking movie. It is really good. I really enjoy it. The writing is excellent. Um it definitely inspired me. I'm like, even though the movie ends with her dying and Harold not dying, Harold doesn't die. You might think he does. I'm not going to say why you would think that, but if you haven't watched the movie, but he doesn't die. It's like even though that is the ending, I didn't see it as like, well, I guess I should just die then. I felt more like I should try to continue living. I should try to live in the moment. I should, try to put myself out there and do things that I enjoy and things like that. And for her to be this like character, this person, it's not like movies and characters just come out of nothing. Somebody wrote this, somebody was inspired by someone in their life, like it doesn't come from nothing. It comes from experiencing the world and people and like um growing and changing and family and friendship, found family and things like that. It's all very interesting. I don't know what I was gonna say. I'm probably gonna keep that pause in though, but we'll see. I mean, you'll know if you're like there was a pause, because it'll be gone, or not. Who knows? But I mean, and that's my whole thing against AI too, because it's like, oh, so you're gonna just take, for one, it's a plagiarism machine. It's not generating anything of its own volition. It is taking from pre-existing things. It's not nothing. It even hallucinates things because it's been made to be a yes machine. So it's not only a plagiarism machine, it is a yes machine that is only going to tell you positive reinforcement, which is why it doesn't work as therapy. It does not work as therapy. Like, sure, you want to talk to somebody, but that's not how you interact with people. That's not how therapy works either, because a therapist is going to give you tools to work through your issues. And again, like, therapists aren't perfect. It is kind of like dating. You do have to go out and find someone that you actually connect with, especially if you're a person of color, because then if you're dealing with someone that isn't culturally, doesn't understand you culturally, then there's going to be a lot that you can't really discuss with this person as well. But um yeah, it's just I mean, and another thing is like, again, what I was talking about before of like how the internet is our third space now, and it is a space that is under attack, and so things like chatbots and stuff are also being used to farm information from people. And a lot of these AI tech companies are funding or are funded by like the military, by Israel and things like that. And it's like, do like what the fuck are we doing? Like, please pay attention. It's not that hard to write an email. What are we doing? It's not that hard to even Google shit, which really fucking sucks because Google is now unusable because they need people to interact with the site more. So they make it so it's harder to find. Plus, there's the AI overview shit. So I'm like, I don't even want to Google shit anymore. I've barely done it. I use DuckDuckGo, but I'm probably about to leave that as well because they have been incorporating AI into their shit too. And I'm like, fuck this shit. I don't like, I'm this close to just having a brick phone that can't have access to the internet. I'm about to fucking buy a physical dictionary and thesaurus. Like I'm just like I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want it. I'm about to start sending letters like the normal way instead of a fucking email because I mean, if you didn't realize that an email is just electronic mail, like that's I don't know, but either way, I'm like, damn, I gotta get rid of my fucking Gmail as well because what do you mean? I don't need a AI summary of an email that's not that long in the first place. Stop it. Whew. Okay. But I don't know, and it's so interesting because these people keep investing in something that hasn't really proven to be a benefit to anything. Not to mention all of the data centers, the AI data centers that are propping up that are polluting the air and stealing natural resources. Like, like there's so much. Even the whole thing with like the autonomous like cars, like Waymo and shit, finding out that those are actually just piloted by like people in the Philippines. Like, what are we doing? Like, it just feels like people are recreating slave labor and servitude, like it's just so fucking it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up. It's not that hard to find information. It's not that hard to write a fucking email. If you want to be good at art, fucking do art. You have to start out bad and then you get good because you spend time. Like people who are artists spend time learning how to be good. They all like a lot of people start out bad. There's only like a slim amount of people that are prodigies, but even still, they need to understand there's like a technical level of understanding light and shadow and contours and shit. It's like it's a fucking skill. It's a fucking skill. Same as writing, like it's a skill that you learn about and you build it up. You also read things to get better because you're like, wow. Because I've been reading stuff and I'm like, wow, I like how this person structured this story. This is such an interesting way to structure a fiction story. Like, wow, I wouldn't have even thought about this. Because there's so many fucking different ways to do it. And it's like thinking about how you could write something because you just want to play around with formatting and the English language or something. Like, like, people, and okay, I'm like getting frustrated. But I'm also like, people get into stuff. Like, I hate that our economy is such a way that people think they need to um get into something because they're trying to find like a get rich quick scheme because otherwise they don't really have prospects or anything like that. And I'm like, that really fucking sucks that our economy is even like this to the point where people can't even like they don't feel like they could go to school and learn these skills and then do something because they enjoy doing it, even if it doesn't make money. Because I'm like, people, artists and writers barely make money as it is. And now you're making it so that it's even less impossible for people to make money. Like, what the fuck? Also, it was hella funny that this photographer won a AI image fucking contest and they like had to take it back because they were like, oh no, this is a real image. And the person was just like, yeah, I wanted to show that real fucking art made by real fucking people is still important and still interesting, and you can't get rid of us. And I'm like, y'all couldn't even fucking tell that that was a real image. It's fucking hilarious. Woo! I got it right off. I got right away from whatever I was saying. I would say the biggest thing is that like it's just I think about COVID, which is still ongoing. It feels like it's going to turn into sort of how influenza and the flu is, and it's just going to be like COVID season, flu season. Um Even though COVID is a type of SARS and I'm like, yeah, no, SARS is fucking bad, you guys. Um anyway, what I was trying to say was as much as I want to say COVID, lockdown and all of that stuff like affected people and I'm like I'm sure it did, but I was someone who didn't have a office job. I didn't work from home. I was only maybe out of work for maybe 2 or 3 months and then I went back to work. So I didn't get the whole fucking oh no, I'm stuck at home unemployed for whatever x amount of time that other people seem to have because I'm like, I don't know what happened with y'all, but that wasn't my reality. But it seems like y'all got really sucked into online spaces, Like, again, online is third space. That's how people organize. That's why fucking TikTok is getting censored like it is, because that was a way that people were spreading information. People were learning about the histories and things that our school system sort of censors and tries to erase because especially now because of our like president or like people seeing like when people were going over to red note and they're like, oh, this is how fucking China is. I was being told a lie. And it's like, yeah, our fucking country has so much propaganda against so many countries. I mean, we are more isolated, like our neighbors are Canada and Mexico, and that's kind of it. I'm also like, y'all truly forget that Mexico was also Texas, New Mexico, and California. Like those people didn't just fucking leave. They are still in those spaces, so it's just it's fucked up that ICE is trying to, deport people, and it's like, no, but these people have lived here for generations. It's not what? And then I mean, there's plenty of people who have lived here generations and have never learned English. That happens because you can be a part of like a homogenized community and not have to know English, and or you send like your younger um relatives to translate for you or something. Like there are situations like that in this country because people have lived here generations and didn't need to learn English because they worked for each other. And that can also be because of segregation and just wanting to get by within your own community, instead of assimilating, which is why a lot of people, like, I mean, I feel like people don't, it's like some people wake up to the fact that white as a concept is in direct opposition of black. And so a lot of Europeans came over here, had to erase their nationality in order to cling on to whiteness and not be treated poorly or put into the same category as black people, right? Because otherwise, these are European Americans. Like whiteness doesn't exist as that's not a race. It's a concept. But now I'm like, okay, let's not. Now we're straying so far from the sun, or I'm going too close to the sun. I don't know. Either way, I love this movie. It's sad that Bud Cort died. It was really inspiring to me. I mean, not that I'm not still a very depressed person. I would say I'm at a level of being depressed, but not suicidal, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really deal with suicidal ideation anymore. Not really. Like, sometimes I'm like, maybe I should just die, But then I'm like, no, no, it's okay. And I feel like the more I get into doing things that bring me joy, I feel as though, it's worth living. And I feel like our capitalist society is really built to go against everyone's like instinct, like we're forced to work to earn money, to eat, to survive, and we have to work so much that we don't even have time to do our actual like passions and things and whatnot, which is why I'm like, which is why I'm keeping up with this podcast because I'm like, I like talking about movies. I like, um, I mean, I kind of use this as like like a journal, as a diary. I mean, I don't listen back to any of these because I don't want to. No, because I'm like, oh no, am I gonna cringe at my own voice? Thankfully, my voice sounds better to me. But those early episodes, my voice wasn't, it was pre-T. So I was still very in a higher register than I would like. I'm in a lower register now, and I feel like it's going to keep getting lower. No, I just did that. That wasn't. I mean, okay, I do have to talk a little higher because I think my normal octave is too low. So I'm looking at the waveforms and I feel like I'm lower than it should be acceptable. Because I'm like, I'm talking in front of the mic. Why can't you hear me? But um, yeah, like let me try talking normal. Like this is just my regular voice. Like this is where I'm at normally. Like this is it. But I also need to drink some water. I feel like I sound a little dehydrated. I don't think I've. Oh my god, I haven't drinking any water today. Yeah, I'm kind of dehydrated. But yeah, that's like that's my normal voice, and I have to talk a little bit higher because I am just like, why is my waveform so low, you guys? What's going on? But Yeah, so I definitely talk a little bit more because I was like, oh damn, that was very dramatic of a change just now. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like try to spend time doing something for yourself that isn't going to be monetized, you know? Like I definitely have things that I enjoy doing, like even with filmmaking, you know? Like I got into it because I really just do wanted to learn more about it. I'm taking a broadcasting class now too because I love television. The switchers seem like a really fun thing to do. I'm like, ooh, I want to be like click, 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 and switch between monitors and stuff. But I don't think I'm gonna actually do that. I also feel like I am more of a like ultimately I'm someone who is a artist. I want to make work that is publicly viewed, so I definitely think I'm going to be more I'm going in a more installation route and more an experimental film expanded cinema route as well. Very excited for that. And yeah, and I'm also getting into making music. I used to have an interest in like soundscapes and stuff, so if you know what a soundscape is, that's kind of where I'm going. And if I think of expanded cinema, you there's this like sort of performance level to it because you can be projecting something and then you can play around with the projectors. You can have a music accompaniment to it as well. This is also what used to happen when you think about theater as like these theater palaces, where it was just like such a big thing to go out and go see a movie because there would be live music. And so if you ever see those ads for like an orchestra being accompanied by like a movie, like that is how people used to watch movies. Like that's how it used to be, which is really cool. Like if you think of like the silent film era, like all that music and stuff, like that was being played in front of the screen, you know, like that was how it used to be. And it's still cool to have that kind of thing around. But that is definitely like the orchestra playing a soundtrack of a movie. That's definitely more of a mainstream thing. Experimental film is a little different. It's not like going to be like a whole orchestra. It might just be one person or a few people. Sometimes there's like puppetry, like shadow puppet stuff. Very cool things. And I'm like, oh, this is a whole other world for me to explore and get into and learn about. And I'm very excited. And yeah, I'm just like those things that are just named is like the art at least is something that I'm like I do want to monetize it. I want to have it out there and I want people to have access to it. Because for me, growing up, that was the thing that inspired me to be an artist was going on field trips to museums and seeing these like art exhibits. Like I remember going to the High Museum when I was younger, and I was just like, "Oh, I didn't know you could even be this. I thought you had to be like a doctor or something or a nurse or something in order to have like a career." I mean, if our government cared more about cultivating culture, we would have more programs geared towards art and stuff like other countries do, but either way, I feel like we'll get there eventually. But yeah, I'm going to end it there so I can quickly edit this and post it. Yeah, still working on my new website. I kind of forgot about it. I have not touched my laptop since like last week, actually, which is not great. I need to be doing stuff. But yeah, so check out the website still exists, so you can still check out the podcast archive at www NWWITA I did have a Substack. I think, oh, yes. So I'm going to just have a blog on the site because I was going to maybe keep the Substack and just still post about the different movies with different things. But then Substack and this AI generating thing are combining or something. And I'm like, okay, well, fuck you. I'm definitely going to leave. Uh, so that'll be hopefully by the end of the month available. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/, VNoirs Film Club. Find me on Instagram at V_noir_. And yeah, I will see you all next week. Bye.